Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli wa nusallim ala Rasulil Kareem wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. As you know, with these videos, we have gone through our series of introducing the ILM model, introducing Unity International School, and then having an entire series of comparison between factory model schools and the ILM model, going into depth with all of that. Then we covered Halloween as because it just came up and it was something I felt was necessary. Now we move on to a new series, a mini series of the soul and the spirit of Tarbiyah. What is the soul of Tarbiyah? You see, everything has a soul. Without a soul, that entity is dead. It's lifeless. And whatever is dead begins to stink, begins to ward people away. It begins to scare people away. So it becomes scary and filthy and with a stench. So no one wants to come close to it. So if we take out the ruh, the soul from Tarbiyah, our children will run away from it. And if you just have the structure and just this dry approach, your children will not accept it and in fact be disgusted and driven away from it. That's not what we want. And as we know that Tarbiyah is the most basic and most primary responsibility of parents. Tarbiyah is the most basic and primary responsibility of parents. If there is a family that has been afflicted with starvation, they have nothing to eat, and the father is helpless, jobless, and cannot even muster a meal for his family, put a morsel in the mouth of his hungry children. That happens. That's possible. And he will not be held accountable for that. Circumstances, it can happen to anyone. May Allah save us. But if this same father neglects his duty and his responsibility in the upbringing of his children, in teaching them etiquette and in raising them as good humans, as good Muslims, who are able to differentiate between right and wrong, truth and falsehood, rights, are able to fulfill rights and responsibilities. If he lacks in any way in this duty, he will be taken to task and he will be held accountable on the Day of Judgment. So let that sink in, how important this responsibility of Tarbiyah is. And then we have our community, and Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he came to this world, and from his efforts and sacrifices, he prepared a community, an Ummah. And that is, I feel, what we are lacking today. We're not an Ummah anymore. We need to build this Ummah. We need to become a community. And that's at a smaller, micro scale as well as at a macro scale. It's at a global scale, but it's also at a local scale. We have to do it locally, and then we can become something globally. So even if we reflect locally, we're very weak in our bonds, in our community bonds. So that's something we need to work and develop on. And one of the byproducts of having a strong community is the support that parents get in the tarbiyah of their children, because then the community becomes a murabbi collectively for the children. And that's where the school comes in, which is basically a place of tarbiyah for the children, or a madrasa or a school, same role. And we need to ensure that this ruh, this soul of tarbiyah is entrenched into the entire school and the entire facility. In our home, in our school, this soul has to be entrenched, and it has to permeate each and every corner of our institution. And the people, the adults in the institution, have to become murabbis. They have to become role models. They have to model these qualities. They have to model tarbiyah. They cannot just dictate or lecture it. So there are 5 main areas or main points in the soul of the tarbiyah. That this is what I find extremely useful, and I welcome you to look into it and accept it. The first and foremost among this we call al-muhabba wal-ma'rifa, the love and recognition of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Al-muhabba wal-ma'rifa, and this is the fountainhead, the root, and the foundation of tarbiyah. Without this, there's no existence of any relationship with Allah. There's no existence of tarbiyah, or the proper upbringing of a human being, or the completion of a human being, for that matter. So, what is this recognition of Allah that we can present to our little children? Because we start with Montessori in this, and as you know, children age 3, 4, 5, they come to the school, to preschool, to Montessori, and they start benefiting from this environment. It's a completely different argument from which age we should be sending our children to school. Let's leave that for another day. We will have a video on that as well. But how do we introduce Allah to our children? So we have brought it down to 7 basic qualities, 7 fundamental qualities of Allah Azza wa Jal. As we know, Allah is known through His names and attributes. And as Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said in one hadith, that they're one less than 199. From among them, which ones should we introduce to our children first? So what we believe is that Al-Khaliq, the creator, being the creator of everything, the creator of the universe, whatever is in existence, Allah is the creator. That is where we start, because that's what you can immediately relate to. Allah created the sun, Allah created the moon, Allah created the stars, Allah created the mountains, Allah created the plains, and Allah grew the crops in it. Allah created the rivers and created the fish in it. Allah created the forests and the animals in it. So Allah is the creator. Allah created me, Allah created you, Allah created my parents. Everything's created by Allah. So introducing Allah as the Khaliq is the first step. The next step is that Allah is Malik. Not only is the creator, but He is also the owner and the dispenser of everything. He's the one in control. He's the one in command. Everything is under His control. Every single atom in the universe is under His control. So bringing this fact that, whatever we have is His. Whatever we have is given by Him. And that leads us to the next one, Raziq or Razaq. So He's a Khaliq, He's Malik, He's Raziq or Razaq. And He's the one who provides. Everything is owned by Him. We say that, who gave me these shoes? And I say, Dad gave me these shoes. No, Dad brought them from the store. But Allah gave you the shoes. Who gave me food to eat? Allah gave you food. But Mom made the food. Yes, Mom cooked it, but Allah gave it. You see, everything relates back to Allah. So this is where this relation starts developing. And He's the one who provided me. Whatever I have is given by Him. Allah gave me shoes to wear. Allah gave me clothes to wear. Allah gave me toys to play with. Allah gave me friends to play with. Allah gave me a school. Allah gave me parents. Allah gave me friends and family and brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles and grandparents. Allah gave them to me. Allah is the only one who owns them. Allah is the one who created them. So Khaliq, Malik, Raziq. Next, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. Allah is the kindest and most merciful. There's nobody who can be kinder than Allah. There's no one who can be most merciful than Allah. We move on to something that's closely related, is Al-Wadud, that Allah loves me unconditionally, and nobody loves me more than Allah loves me. Allah loves me unconditionally, and nobody loves me more than Allah loves me. Even if I don't love Allah back, Allah will still love me. So the love of Allah needs to be opened upon, that how much Allah loves this child. And following that, As-Sami' Al-Basir. Now, I know there's a bit of cheating. Those are 2 attributes, but they're so tied in together. They're so bonded since the beginning of time that it's hard to discuss one without the other. So my Allah is watching me. My Allah is listening to me. My Allah is with me. My Allah. Not Allah. My Allah. Like, so it's my house, my clothes, my toys, my school, my friends, but Allah. No, my Allah. My Allah. that bond, that personal relation with Allah kicks in over here. And this, my Allah is watching me, my Allah is listening to me, my Allah is with me. This istidhar, this consciousness, this is the root of all khair, of all goodness. Sidri Sakti Rahmatullah alayh, he was a great friend of Allah, very pious predecessor. So someone asked him, where did this journey towards the marifah, the recognition of Allah and the closeness to Allah, where did this begin? And he replied that when I was a little child, my uncle, he asked me, Sirri, when you go to sleep at night, what do you do? I told him, I just recite the dua, Allahumma bismika mutu ahya, and I go to sleep. He said, do one more thing. Before going to sleep, just be conscious. Just bring this thought into your heart. My Allah is watching me. My Allah is listening to me. My Allah is with me. And he says, that became the beginning of my journey towards Allah Azza wa Jal. I never let that go. Every night before going to sleep, I contemplate on that. And it just kept on growing and growing and growing. Until, of course, then my entire nights were spent in the worship of Allah. So he became a great wali of Allah. And this was the seed planted in his heart by his uncle. So, Sami al-Basir, and then Al-Alim al-Khabir. Allah knows everything. Allah knows what I'm saying. Allah knows what I'm doing. Allah knows the thoughts in my heart. Allah knows what I did. I cannot hide anything from Him. سَوَاءٌ مِّنْكُمْ مَنْ أَسَرَّ الْقَوْلِ وَمَنْ جَهْرَ بِهِ وَمَنْ هُوَ مُسْتَخْفٍ بِاللَّيْلِ وَسَارِبٌ بِالنَّهَارِ. Everything is, whether in the darkness of the night or in the broad daylight, everything is the same to Him. I cannot hide anything from Him. Nothing is hidden from Him. He knows everything. He can see everything. He can hear everything. He knows everything. So Him being aware and knowing everything, this is an extremely important tenet that allows children to develop that understanding of Allah. وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ اللَّهَ غَافِلًا عَمَّا يَعْمَلُ الظَّالِمُونَ. And do not think that Allah is unaware of what the evildoers or the abusers are doing. Next, we move on to the recognition of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the ma'rifah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That number one, what is the number one thing we should introduce about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to our children? In my humble opinion, the first thing is that he is the greatest person ever in the universe, and he is Allah's most beloved. Allah loves Rasulullah the most. He is the greatest person in the history of the universe and Allah's most beloved. This is the key, this is the seed. And then what connects with this is that he loved all children. How was he with the children? How he played with them, how he laughed with them, how he became a ride for them, how he fed them, how he cherished them, how he never scolded them. When they learn about Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as they say, to know him is to love him, and this axiom doesn't fit on anyone better than Allah and His noble Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The third point is that he was the last prophet of Allah. The finality of the prophethood upon Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is an extremely important initial point that we need to introduce to our children, that he's the last messenger, the last prophet, no messenger, no prophet to come after him. He's the messenger until the day of Qiyamah. He is the leader of all prophets, the imam of all messengers, and he's that brick with which the house of prophethood was completed, and he's the crown of prophethood, and he's the leader of all prophets. And that the Quran was sent down upon him. You see, our children can actually see the Mus'haf of the Quran, the text of the Quran, but they cannot see Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that relation, that's something I'm holding in my hands. This came down upon the sacred heart of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Jibreel brought it down to him, and it was collected in his heart. He did not know how to read. He did not know how to write. This was Allah who sent His word down upon the heart of His Prophet, and from His heart it has been conveyed to us, and it's the guidance for all mankind. The next point is his family. Introduce his family to Rasulullah's family to children. I have a family. Everyone has a family. So who was Rasulullah's children, who were his wives, who were his grandchildren, who were his sons-in-law, who were his parents. What was his family like? So let's talk about his family so that they understand that he had a family just like we have families. Then his two most dominant and most famous qualities, as-sadiq al-amin, the truthful, the trustworthy, that he was known for this well before prophethood was declared upon him. And this is what I should strive to become, that people should know me as being truthful, honest, and know me as being trustworthy, that I should never be deceitful, I should never cheat, I should never lie, I should never abuse anyone's trust, or violate the trust. I cannot do that. What would Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam do? As we say, we see bumper stickers and stuff. We say, what would Jesus do? Right? That's the Christian approach. We say, what would Rasulullah do? In this situation, what would Rasulullah do? Someone angered me. What would Rasulullah do? Someone wronged me. What would Rasulullah do? And if I'm sick, I'm lying in bed sick, what would Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam do? So this becomes the avenue for our growth spiritually and as a human being, by just asking that question. And the final one is that we must follow him in everything we do. He is our leader, he is our role model, and he's the one who Allah has commanded us to follow him in everything we do. And just be like Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's it. That's all of Tarbiyah. All of Tarbiyah comes into this. Be like Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So may Allah allow our kids to become like Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and may Allah give us the love and recognition of Allah and His Rasul that lead us to His obedience and His pleasure. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.